Welcome, everybody. I am Lacey, one of the hosts. I've done music groups before. I am a look mentor and I am a flautist, though unfortunately I won't be performing tonight. And we've got our other host, Sarah.
Hi, so I'm Sarah and I'm a singer. Primarily, I play a little bit of guitar. I've just finished my music degree and it's really
Whoop,
exciting.
whoop.
Yay! So, yeah, as you know, we've got Sirine tonight, who's our special guest for our first rebranded session. And Sirine, if you'd like to say hello to everyone and sort of
Hi
give
everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this. I mean even like I mean I don't do this often, so this is something new even for me, and I'm really looking forward to it and hearing your questions.
Oh, that's really nice. So, could you just start out by giving us a little bit of your musical background, to sort of let everyone know who you are, what you do, and just all about that, really?
Yeah, so my name is Sirine. I am 17 years old now. Um, I think my music is it's had a bit of a roller coaster journey on its own. I think there's two aspects to my life. There's the side where, well, there's my music life, and then there's the life where I've had to deal with like blindness. So I think they go hand in hand because, and I will explain why and how. So my grandmother, my late grandmother, used to always ask me, sing, sing, sing to me, sing to me. I'd always sit beside her on her bed, and she would say, sing for me these princess songs. I loved princesses. I was a true girly girl. And I would sing to her, and I was awful, and I know I was awful. I was like 4, but she just had so much faith. I don't even know what it was. I don't know if it was faith or just um, her giving me the confidence, but it really, really did shape my music, my love for music later on. And the reason I say my blindness and music go hand in hand is because I think because I also loved my Nintendo. I used to be able to see 6 years ago, and I would always play on my iPad. And then I lost my sight gradually. It was very gradual. And I remember I went to my dad and I said, I can't see the iPad anymore. And I think that must have been really hard for my dad, and he must have thought, what on earth is Serene gonna do in her life? Um, but I already had that love for music in me, and I really do thank my grandmother for that. And so I wrote songs. I wrote my first song when I was 7 called Best Friends, very cringe, but and then I started to write songs about never giving up at 11, even though at the time I had no idea what on earth that meant, but I wrote songs about that. Um, and then I went through a very dark time when I was 14 because coping, I think it was more just trying to come to terms with the fact that I was blind and I couldn't see, and I just had to deal with that. And I remember talking to my dad that night, and I told him I really don't know what to do in my life. I loved music, I loved all these things, but I really didn't know what I exactly wanted to do in my life. And it's so ironic because exactly a week later, I got a call from Britain's Got Talent, and they asked me to come on the show, and I thought it was a scam. I asked my dad, is this a scam? And he said, no, it's fine. So I called the number, and, they said, we're from Britain's Got Talent. We'd love for you to come on the show. And I said, of course. And I did it. Didn't think I was going to get through whatsoever because I walked into the offices. I did the show. I completely mucked up. And I left. And my dad said, how was it? And I said, it was awful. And he said, okay, let's just go out to eat. And then I got I think a call or an email a month later saying that I got through, and that is where I did my first audition, and it was the first live performance I'd ever done, first biggest performance I've ever done, and after that I got into production, started performing in events such as the Coke Festival. I just recently did TEDx. and doing things like this and talking at schools about the overcoming of struggle. And but that's why I say music and mindness have gone hand in hand. But yeah, music, I really, as cliche as it sounds, I really do dedicate a lot of, well, everything to music.
Mhm. That's really interesting. And I mean, you've touched on it briefly, like Britain's Got Talent, and we've had a few questions of people just wanting to know, like, what was that process like for you, and were there any challenges with it?
I it was such an incredible experience, and it was also extremely challenging. I think there's two sides to it. The incredible part is the fact that I'd never performed in front of anybody, and I think that also is why it was so immensely challenging. I was there's even a video right before I go on stage, because I told my dad, please take this video, I want to watch it after. And I couldn't talk. I literally was shaking so much. I was like, oh my gosh. And then they were like, Sirine, you're coming on in the video. And then my dad stops the video, and then yeah, the rest is history. But it was definitely extremely scary. I did it. I went off stage. I cried, but from joy. And then we went out and celebrated. And then the semifinal came around, and I did that. And I mean, in the semifinal, I genuinely did cry in my performance, because it was such an emotional song. What I was singing about, which is um, about knowing that it's hard. And like I said, before Britain's Got Talent, I was going through a really hard time. So it just touched my heart. And so yeah, Britain's Got Talent was both extremely exciting, but also very, very nerve wracking.
Oh, okay. So, um, I think we just had a question come in actually, which kind of ties in really nicely with this. Was like, how did you actually cope with the nerves when you were performing?
I didn't. I've learned strategies since then, with like proper coaches, but I was all on my own then. So what I'd done is just walked on stage, did it. I really am so shocked I didn't absolutely just break down, fall to the floor because of how nervous I was. But I think if I were to give someone advice about how to get over nerves, it's just to keep doing it. The reason I was so nervous that day was because I'd never done it before. And I perform more often now, and so it's not so nerve wracking. And if I were to do it again, I don't think I'd be as nervous. But nerves, again, means you care, so it's not so bad.
Oh, okay, that's brilliant. So, we know that you go to Brit. So, could you just tell us a little bit more what it's like to be a VI at the Brit School, and like talk a little bit about the accessibility and the inclusivity of it all?
Yeah, so I applied to the Brit School in November 2020, and I didn't think I would get in, but I did. And I looked at the values of the school, and one of them is inclusivity. And being at the school is very much like that. It's originality, inclusivity, all of that. You've got a mixture of people who are, uh, I don't know, gay, blind, all sorts of things. I mean, I'm the only blind person, but what I'm saying is that it's such a diverse school, and being the only blind person, I'd say I'm not the only VI person, but I'm definitely the only blind person. Um, I I walk around with my cane, and people obviously are curious. They ask, "What is that?" And I'm more than willing to explain what it all is. And um, I think there's a beauty in that, being the only person that has what you have in an environment that is so diverse. Yet you've got something that's too diverse that you're not even a part of, a group of people that have what you have. So I'm not sure if that answers your question completely, but
It's quite a difficult question to answer, so I think you've answered that
thank
quite
you.
nicely. Yeah. Another question is like, what has your music making process changed since you went VI? So, the way you record music, the way you do things, like if anything in terms of production, has things changed in terms of how you use your tech and how you make music as a VI musician?
100%. I think, but I don't even think that's, I think half of it is because of the blindness, but also half of it is because I'm 17. And was when I was like 7. So there's a 10-year um, there's 10 years for me to improve in all, one of those aspects. I didn't know that Logic and all these DAWs existed until like recently, until like 3 years ago. And I've learnt ways of like EQing, compressing, and all these sorts of things, um, while being blind. And I think it's not so hard because being able to produce and your music does rely on being able to hear. Um, in fact, I'm quite close to somebody who's partially deaf and still produces and is blind.
Oh, wow.
Um, so they've got, a mix of it all. And yet they're so insanely talented. They are incredible. They produce so well. I ask for advice from them, and I'm like, please teach me your tricks. So in terms of songwriting, it's definitely changed because I think I've got more experience since I did at 7, and I mean, I've got so many tricks for songwriting. I don't know if that's going to be a question at all. I've got lots of things that I do to ensure that my songs are the way that it turns out to be. Production is another thing. I think there's two sides to how I make my music. I get inspired, then write, then produce, then show. That was more than two. That was several. So yeah, so I have different ways of doing it, but it's definitely changed over the past few years.
Okay, that's really interesting. And we had a question come in over email, and it's just really so we know that you play piano.
Yes.
And this person in question is going to be taking the one of the graded exams. And so firstly, what would the advice be that you'd give to people studying music and giving exams? And the specific example for this is like, what advice would you give to someone who's studying jazz piano?
Okay, I don't take grades in anything that I do. I don't take grades in singing or piano. I tried. I have a very funny story about this. I tried with like opera singing or some sort of like classically. To be classically trained in singing, and I got to like grade 6 or grade 7, but it was like the first time I'd ever done it. And I was so nervous. I think I was in like year 8 maybe, and I walked in, and the guy was like, "Hi, how are you?" And I was like, I'm I literally could not get the words out. I said my name instead of saying I'm good. Um, so I don't really know how to. I think well, if I were to relate it to performing, because I guess it basically is that all it is that someone's like judging you on what you're doing to grade you on that. What I'd say is just to get completely familiar with what you're performing. I recently did TEDx, and I think it was the first time I'd ever actually practiced for a show in my entire uh, life and performance. And I I think I've discovered like the formula for getting rid of nerves, and it's basically just to be prepared. I'd never been more prepared in my life, and I swear my nerves was cut down by like 80%. The rest of the 20% was just excitement and just nerves for it to I don't know, just it just all I'd say is just to be be very prepared, practice constantly, and it's so boring, but it does pay off.
Oh, okay, that's really lovely. And sort of to finish off this bit is like, do you actually have a favorite artist or a favorite song?
It's so funny. My songwriting style is so different to my listening. I have a playlist, and if I were to share it with all you guys, you'd wonder what on earth do I listen to. I listen to stuff from bluegrass, which is a subgenre of country,
Oh,
to
no.
to like Ella Fitzgerald, to Chuck Berry, to any modern artist at the moment. Like I'll listen to anything. I think that's really important as a musician, only because I wouldn't be able to write half the songs that I do had I not listened to. That's not to say that I'm writing Japanese music just because I listen to it, but it just gives you insight into what what else you can do. So no, I don't have a favorite artist or song, but I do have people who I look up to, such as, and I look more up to songwriters. I love Max Martin. He was my like, he wrote all the hits, you know, the I want it that way and the hit me baby one more time. He wrote all those songs, a million more. I love Jeff Lynne. I love um, Bob Dylan. There's just so many. Yeah. Not one.
Fantastic. If you can perform for us, and from there we just go straight into questions. So I won't say anything. We'll just open it up to questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So the song that I'm going to be singing is an original that I recently wrote, and it's called Came to Say Hello. It's about, I keep bringing this up, it was such a prominent moment in my life. It's about coming back to yourself after a long internal battle, and when I sing this, I think about the time when I was 14. So that is what the song is about, and I hope you like it. Okay, let me turn this up. Empty words are always uttered, moments last just when they matter, but all we have are memories in a photograph. I spent my life chasing dreams, always lived beyond my means. My shallow life is summarized in a paragraph. But I'd like to let you know, although the years have flown, I'm standing here alone, so far away from home. I came to say hello, just to say hello. I needed you to know I'm feeling so alone. I came to say hello, just to say hello. I needed you to know. I took a while to realize I wish that I could turn back time. So here I am, I'm drawing circles in the sand. But I'd like to let you know, although the years have flown, I'm standing here alone, so far away from home. I came to say hello, just to say hello. I needed you to know I'm feeling so alone. I want you to know I just came to say hello. I came to say hello. Sorry, I couldn't help laughing at the end. But yeah, that was Came to Say Hello.
Oh, thank you. That was so lovely. Okay, so we're going to open it up to questions.
Thank you.
I don't know the best way to do this, but maybe Claire, if you can help by reading like the questions in the chat, maybe.
I will. That was absolutely lovely, Sirine. It really was. I'm just going to this.
I can imagine it's cutting off a lot with the Zoom connection.
Oh, so I'm just in no particular order. Somebody's asking, what are you currently studying?
I'm studying music, literally just music. It is equivalent to 3 A levels, and it's a UL course, and we study ethnomusicology, music theory, music history, and yeah, that's just music basically.
How did you get in contact with the right people for producing music?
I think it was more of a so the way I would, if I were to give advice about this, firstly, get LinkedIn and reach out to people. It doesn't matter if they don't reply. Well, then that means it wasn't worth it. And I mean, it wasn't meant to be. But just get LinkedIn, reach out to people. Always ask them to send you music, and because you know they could be horrible, and you should really judge that on what music they've done. And a lot of producers have come up to me on Instagram and things like that. And if any of you would like advice, you could reach out to me on Instagram, and I can directly, give you advice personally.
Brilliant. Sirine, what process did you have to go through when applying to Brit School?
It's a really long process. We had to write like an essay about, I can't even remember. It's something about like an influential moment in musical moment in time, and then write about why I deserve a place at the school. And you have to say what you've done, like musically. You then have to submit a produced song. It doesn't have to be great quality, but it has to be yours. You have to do a live performance. You also have to do an exam. Like two interviews, I think. Yeah, it was quite long. Almost, yeah, like it took like a year and a half. Not a year and a half, sorry, a half a year.
Still pretty intense, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I probably am missing some things, but yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
Yeah. Are your songs available on any streaming platform?
No, but I post everything on my Instagram. Yeah, and my Instagram is basically like my Spotify. One day I'll release things, but for now I'm kind of just writing songs, showing it to my followers, and then that's it. And
Yeah.
getting
Yeah. How do you study music theory without being able to read it?
I absolutely hate music braille, and I think what the good thing about Brit School is that I think you have to. I don't really know because I don't do classical music, but I think at the Brit School it's very poppy, so you don't really need to do music braille. But while I was doing my GCSEs, I had to learn it, and I really despised it. But how do I do it? I've discovered my own ways of doing music theory, and I just relay that to the teacher so that we're both on the same page, and then that's how I work with music theory.
Uh-huh. Um, what is your method of composing?
Um, gosh. Well, firstly, there's like I said, I gave four instances. There's the inspiring part, and so if you want to be inspired, my advice would be watch a movie, read a book, have a conversation. Always have a conversation before you write. And if you don't have anyone to conversate with, and if you don't want to watch a movie or read a book, then get up. Your phone or braille note or laptop or whatever you use, and just basically set a timer for 10 minutes and just write everything you're thinking. And then, maybe you'll get some good lyrics out of that. Then there's the actual writing part. And so there's two ways I do it. I make the music on the laptop, whatever I've been inspired by. Then I just improvise over it, pretend like it's already a song, or I just sit by my piano or at my guitar, and I write that way, and then I produce, then I mix, and then show my music. And showing the music is, I think, one of the most important parts, because you have to ask the person what you hate about the song, and then they'll tell you what they hate about the song, and then ask another person what you hate about the song. Also ask them what you like about the song, and then that way you can improve your song.
Yeah, brilliant. Do you prefer writing lyrics or melodies first?
I always do it different. Like, it's always different for every song. I take a 2-hour train to the Brit School each day, so it's like 4 hours travel each day. And well, as you can imagine, I don't have, it's 2 hours, so what can I do in 2 hours? So I write lyrics, and so sometimes that will inspire a song, or sometimes I just feel really inspired in the moment, and then I'll come to my piano, make a melody, then put lyrics to it. But always have your notes app at hand and constantly write lyrics, whatever you're thinking. Recently I heard the lyric, "My eyes are quiet," or something like that. I can't remember. I have to look at my notes. And then I've written a whole song of I'll write a whole song about just a lyric that I recently heard. Yeah.
Amazing, brilliant. Now I know that Sirine won't be staying for the whole of our music group, but we've got through lots of questions, and it's 6:30 now, so I'm going to hand back to my hosts, because that's as many questions as we can fit in at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
well,
thank
thank
you all for
Sirine,
coming
and
for the
thank you.
first half. Thank you, Sirine.
Thank you. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate it. I like I said, anyone, I can imagine, yeah. It's really annoying when your question hasn't been answered. So if you want, you can drop me an email or Instagram.
You've been so popular. We've still got questions that haven't been answered, and I wonder if you would come back at some point, Serena, maybe do this again.
I'm willing to still answer questions. I'm fine.
Serene, what is your Instagram?
My Instagram is Sirine, so Sirine, and then an underscore music. So Sirine_music.
Great, I've put that in. And Alistair's got one question. Should we just take this final question from Alistair?
Yeah.
If you want to unmute, Alistair.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me now. I'm just like astounded with admiration for you know such a brave performer. But I was just wondering, how do you gauge the sort of response of the audience when you're performing?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And how do I gauge? I think so when you mean by that, what exactly do you mean by that actually? Yeah. Just could you elaborate just a bit more, just so I.
Yeah, I guess it's when you're performing, you're doing it for the audience. So
yeah.
It's sort of I'm not VI, my daughter is. So I'm just sort of trying to imagine how you'd sort of say, well, what songs you've got, is it pitched to the right audience, or to sort of influence what you're doing the rest of the concert.
Okay, I totally get you. Okay, so if I were to do a gig, I plan it very you have to be very calculative with it, in the sense that, so at the start of your gig, I typically would sing very popular songs, so that way the audience is kind of familiar with my voice and knows who I am and whatever. Then I'll start to sing originals. I think you have to have a mix, and the originals can be sad, but then so the start and the end of the gig is always the most important. So I think the way to gauge it is you have to really study the room, and you don't have to study the room with your eyes, kind of with your ears, and kind of feel the vibe. I will never sing a sad song in a place like a club or something, but you would sing a sad song in like a some sort of like very lo-fi restaurant. So very much gauge it by the actual establishment itself, and the values of the establishment. I really hope that answered your question.
yeah, thanks. That was brilliant.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think we don't really have any more time now for more questions, but if we could get all the questions together and get them across to you, would you still be happy to answer them for us?
Yeah, certainly. I'd be more than happy to.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really, really
Thank you so much, and thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Claire, and everyone else.